When it comes to supplements, most people are certainly not lacking options. They're lacking a way to filter what actually matters for them. Because if you've spent any time in this space looking at supplements, you've probably seen dozens of top 5 lists, and they rarely agree with each other. So the real question isn't just which supplements show up. It's what criteria they were chosen from in the first place. I'm Dr. Kenny, an IFM-certified functional medicine practitioner, and instead of just giving you another list, I want to show you the 5 that I come back to again and again in clinical practice, and more importantly, the lens I used to decide what actually earned a place in the top 5. So as we go through these, don't just collect the list, use the reasoning behind it when it comes to choosing your supplements. Many top 5 supplement lists today are built around a trend or a brand or a single study sometimes. This one is built around a different question entirely. Before we get into the 5, I want to be transparent about how I filtered this down because the criteria matter just as much as the conclusion. Here's what I was looking for. First of all, meaningful evidence across multiple body systems, not just one isolated outcome. Second was a genuine depletion problem in the population where food alone often doesn't close the gap. Third was a dose response signal where the amount that you take actually changes the outcome. And fourth is clinical relevance, things that I've watched play out in real cases, not just in theory. I'm also attempting to rank these less by trendiness and more by how broadly they affect long-term function, resilience, and real-world usefulness. So order is intentional here. Here's what made the cut, and we're going to start with number 5. Most people think of creatine as a gym supplement. That framing is about a decade out of date. The way creatine works is that it increases the availability of a compound known as phosphocreatine in your cells. This is basically the fast, quick access energy currency that your body uses when energy demand spikes suddenly. So you can understand how your muscles use it in a performance context. But here's the part that many people are missing, is that your brain uses it too. Your brain tissues have high and continuous energy demands, and creatine plays a direct role in supporting that. A recent 2024 systematic review and meta-analysis looked at 16 different randomized control trials and found that creatine supplementation improved memory and attention in adults, with benefits that were particularly noteworthy in people under physiological stress. So creatine isn't just a biohack for athletes. It's a compound that your nervous system and your muscles both depend on for energy. And most people aren't storing enough of it, especially those who don't eat red meat regularly, for instance. When it comes to form, creatine monohydrate is the most studied. It's also the most affordable. You don't need to go for the fancier versions, and dosing between 3 to 5 grams daily is a good starting amount. Consistency matters more than loading any higher dosing. Number 4 is soluble fiber. Fiber has some of the most consistent multi-system longevity data out of anything on this list. Increasing your soluble fiber intake has associations with lower all-cause mortality, as well as cardiovascular and cancer mortality. That signal is broad, and it's held up against the evidence over time, and it runs through a mechanism that most people haven't necessarily given much attention to. Soluble fiber, specifically, dissolves in water, and it forms a gel-like substance when going through the intestines. That gel slows sugar absorption along the gut. It also binds to bile acids and cholesterol. It acts as a prebiotic. It feeds beneficial bacteria in your microbiome. The list goes on. That microbiome piece alone connects to almost everything else. Immune regulation, inflammatory load, gut barrier integrity, and also nervous system tone through the gut-brain connection. So this fiber piece is upstream of a lot of the conditions we're trying to address with supplements downstream. There's a context here, however, that I'd be doing a disservice if I skipped over. Fiber earns its place at the population level, meaning it benefits most people. But individual terrain matters before you reach for any dose of fiber. If your gut is already inflamed, or if you have slower motility or constipation issues, high-dose soluble fiber can create more noise before it creates a beneficial signal in the body. Increase incrementally and pay attention to how your system responds across multiple systems. Some of the most well-studied forms are psyllium husk and guar gum. You want to target about 5 to 10 grams of soluble fiber from supplementation spread across meals rather than all at once. You can also get this through a food-first approach if you prefer. Vitamin D is in the third spot, and it's one of those supplements where the conversation keeps getting oversimplified in both directions. Vitamin D is definitely not a vitamin in the traditional sense. It acts more like a hormone precursor throughout the body. When it's activated, it operates more like a signaling molecule across many systems, including gene expression, from immune function to inflammation, the way your bone metabolizes and strengthens itself, as well as cardiovascular health. And the receptor for it is found on almost every single tissue throughout the body, which tells you it's way more than just a side conversation, which is unfortunate because it's often just an add-on lab to routine blood work. Several large research reviews suggest that supplementation over longer periods of time, for generally more than 3 years, is associated with a modest but a real reduction in all-cause mortality, with particular consistent cancer mortality signal. But the benefit does appear most clearly in people who are genuinely deficient, which is still a large part of the population. Knowing your number matters before deciding how aggressively to treat it, though, too, because you can overdose with vitamin D. Most functional medicine practitioners look for an ideal range between about 50 to 80 nanograms per milliliter. And vitamin D also has a direct relationship with the next nutrient we'll talk about, which is magnesium. If I had to pick one mineral that shows up as a missing piece more consistently than most, it's this one. Magnesium is involved in over 300 chemical reactions throughout the body that are involved in multiple systems. When it's low, you're oftentimes not feeling one thing. You're just under supporting your systems quite broadly. For many people, it manifests as poor sleep, elevated tension throughout the body, anxiety, blood sugar instability, muscle cramping. The list goes on and on and on, but it really comes to the same gap. A 2021 systematic review and meta-analysis looked at 19 different studies, and it covered over 1.16 million people. And it found that higher magnesium intake was associated with a meaningfully lower risk of all-cause cancer and cardiovascular mortality. And that dose-response relationship held across the data. And by the way, if you're one who enjoys the research, I've included a free research summary where I give my 2 cents on these same studies that I used in this particular video. It's in the pinned comment in the description below. The safety signals that adequate magnesium status is broader than one isolated symptom, and the depletion problem is real, whether we're talking about stress chemistry, poor sleep, high insulin and blood sugar imbalances, or even gut dysfunction. The people who need it most are often burning through it the fastest. When it comes to forms, some of the best out there include magnesium glycinate, threonate, citrate, and malate, depending on the context. And therapeutic dosing is often cited in the range of about 200 to 400 milligrams per day. But you want to address based on your labs if possible, whether you're looking at red blood cell magnesium or more functional labs that show you your functional magnesium status. And our number 1 spot goes to omega-3s. Omega-3 is at the top of the list because it has the strongest combination of evidence to support it, as well as working across multiple systems and some of the most clinical relevance. And most people still aren't taking in enough of it. EPA and DHA are the 2 active omega-3 fatty acids that are found naturally in marine sources, and they are strong components of our cell membranes throughout the entire body. So they're not just anti-inflammatory signals as they're often packaged to be. They're actually part of how your cells are built. And this influences how well your cells communicate with one another. When your omega-3 status is low, your membrane fluidity and flexibility decreases. This increases inflammatory signaling that becomes dysregulated and ultimately affects recovery across systems from the cellular level. A 2021 meta-analysis that was published in the Mayo Clinic Proceedings analyzed 40 different randomized control trials, which involved over 130,000 participants. What they found was that EPA and DHA supplementation was associated with a reduced risk of many things, including heart attack and coronary heart disease mortality. Critically, in this study, the protective effect seemed to increase with higher doses of omega-3s. That matters tremendously because it suggests that there's a threshold where the body actually starts responding in a meaningful way, especially if you're going to be supplementing. Generally speaking, the studies that failed to show a benefit of omega-3 supplementation were using doses that were too low to technically move the needle. What the research consistently points to is that over 2 grams of combined EPA and DHA are a standard therapeutic dose. For reference, most standard fish oil capsules contain between 300 and 600 milligrams of EPA and DHA. You want to make sure that you're reading the label. Look for the EPA and DHA ratios specifically, not just total fish oil content. A quick note on form as well is that the triglyceride form of omega-3 fish oils are the most bioavailable. They are also less prone to oxidation and spoiling. The quality and the storage of fish oils also matter than almost any other supplement on this list, so make sure to look at the expiration date and how you should best store it. By the way, the omega-3 study I referenced is also in the research summary, so make sure to check it out. And remember, these 5 supplements earned their place because they passed these filters, the research behind them, as well as their clinical usefulness and effectiveness. Supplements are meant to work within a system that is ready to receive them. They do not override poor sleep or unmanaged stress or a gut that isn't absorbing what you're actually taking in. The foundation still has to be there for them to be effective. So maybe you're starting to ask a little different question. Instead of what should I take, how about what is my body actually asking for right now? And where does this tool fit into the picture? That's the difference between stacking products and building with an actual strategy. If you would like to understand how to layer supplements with this strategic anchor, instead of just adding on more products based on wellness trends and advice, the next video walks through my exact 3T framework. This is where your supplementation game starts to be more precise. I'm Dr. Kenny, Root Cause Health Detective. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.